Hey Dramatics, welcome back. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and despite me doing episodic recaps for this series, I thought I'd focus this video in particular on my overall thoughts of the series instead of attaching it to the end of episode 12 because it belongs in its own space. So, slightly different format from the ones I did last year because copyright stuff on YouTube sucks, but we'll make do with what we got. So what compelled me to consume all my time during these last several months to do recaps for this drama? Get the soundtrack, the DVD, the photo essay, and have a birthday watch party over it? Yeah, I did all of that. But to say that this series didn't have me in a chokehold is an understatement. And I'll divulge why with lots of spoilers too. And I mean lots. So what happened was, When the Phone Rings is a 2024 romantic suspense drama that stars Choi Soo-bin as Hung Yi-joo, a neglected, belittled, and long-suffering woman who's mute and a sign language interpreter. She's been married to Park Sun, played by Yoo Yeon-suk, for 3 years, and their union hasn't been a happy one. He's cold, dismissive, and straight-up negligent of his wife, and Hung Yi-joo is at her wit's end. On one rainy night, Hung Yi-joo's car is hacked and hijacked, and her collision course with her kidnapper turns the fate of her desolate marriage around. When her seemingly cruel husband seems okay with her being bodied, Hung Yi-joo soon gets her hands on the kidnapper's modded phone. With it, she fights her way out of her sad life by blackmailing Park Sun with family secrets. But Hung Yi-joo soon learns that giving her up is the last thing her husband would ever do. So, unlike the other versions of So What Happened Was, I won't go into full details about plot considering, like I had said, I did recaps on every single episode. So please go watch those if you haven't already. In advance, apologies for the bad acting in the second half of those, just saying. But in said recaps, I give rundowns of what happened in each episode and my predictions for the upcoming ones since I watched each one in turn with as little spoilers as I could get in between. But sometimes thumbnails do be telling secrets of what to expect. It was sometimes difficult to dodge those clips when you want to relive the experience of watching episodes online, or you scroll on shorts or reels and you get surprised by a scene you haven't seen before. It has happened. But what I want to focus on is the series as a whole. What worked, what didn't, what I wish was resolved, etc. The first thing, everyone in this series was great, from the kidnapper played by Park Jae-yoon, Choi Seung-mi who played Park Sun's mother, etc. Everyone was great, but what I really want to get into is the chemistry between our two leads. Oh my gosh, my love for these two can't be stated enough. I love them. Choi Soo-bin and Yoo Yeon-suk are dynamite in this. They certainly give it their all in this drama, even if Yoo Yeon-suk considers some of the lines they had to deliver as cringe since this is so Wattpad coded, yet they still managed to sell it. And honestly, this story wouldn't have been able to work with a pair that didn't have chemistry as electric as them or their acting chops. They will have you go through a myriad of emotions from anger, despair, heartache, concern, surprise, all of it. But for sure, I hadn't heard of them before this drama, but now I'm fans of both of them. So please, Yoo Yeon-suk and Choi Soo-bin, come stateside for fan meets, asking for myself and a couple of friends. Now I know that they've worked with each other on projects before, from commercials to variety shows, and appeared together in a couple of Yoo Yeon-suk's YouTube videos of late. They also are under the same agency, so they've been in contact with each other before, but this is the first starring drama between the two of them, and honestly, I love to get another drama from them if possible, like a good historical one, maybe even a movie. But even with that ask, I'm honestly unsure if it'll ever top When the Phone Rings. The alchemy, even with the occasionally far-fetched plot, was just too good of a win, because this series pushed them more into people's notice, especially on a global scale. But hey, I love to be proven wrong. If it can happen to Park Min-young and Lee Man-ho, or IU and Lee Joon-gi getting new dramas in the next year or so, anything is possible. And speaking of plots, there were some ups and downs with it. Mainly ups, but the downs were definitely towards the end with the kidnapping of Hung Yi-joo in episodes 9, 10, and also 11. Park Sun getting out of the car to try and reason with the kidnapper, and then him just abandoning his wife as penance to go to war-torn country. Also the reason for Park Sun's neglect and abandonment of his wife, while I vaguely understand the point of view, still comes off as weak sauce. Him banking on destroying his life by revealing all of his family misdeeds and then frolicking into a war zone is all fine and dandy, but he didn't count on being so in love with Hong Ye-ju to where he pounced at the chance of claiming her as his wife. And in episode 1, it was interesting trying to read in between the lines of what his true feelings for her were. From him getting on one knee during the wedding scene, or him damn near running over people to get home after she was kidnapped, was enough subtlety for me to get it. Still, it does not excuse the hell that he put her through, even though I get the hook of him being a redemptive a-hole at first, because he does eventually redeem himself until the mess he pulled in the last episode. But him wanting to avoid her because he didn't bank on being with her for real is still messed up. His needs were still being met with her being in the house, which was always a solace to him, all the while he was thinking he was playing the hero, protecting her. But then he soon comes to realize that he was doing more harm than good. Instead of warmth and reassurances from him, he came at her with hostility and detachment, which made Hong Ye-ju feel hopeless. Their whole relationship and what happened at the beginning of episode 12 is a reflection of what I didn't like from Park Sun as a character. That he was capable of so many things except for the needs of Hong Ye-ju. Like, he assumed what her needs were instead of confirming it directly. Therefore, he never gained her trust for her to confide in him. Because according to the what-if scenario in episode 11, they would have already been happy long before then. But I guess it also might have been from his lack of knowing how to express his love to her. And I'm guessing also he didn't really have a firm idea with the family he was in on how love truly is. Yet again, I wish he would have been humbled in that, telling her frankly that he had no idea how to love her, but genuinely wished to. I mean, in the end, he certainly becomes the openly loving husband he should have been from the start, which was what our girl needed all along. What I also noticed was that Park Sun and Hong Ye-ju only had pockets of sunshine in their lives. For most of the drama, majority of their interactions or confessions of feelings were done at night. Their discussion about changing the trajectory of their marriage, all the phone calls from Hong Ye-ju, their first kiss was at night, him declaring that Park Sun belongs only to Hong Ye-ju, and a lot of these interactions are usually kept between the two of them. And it's an introspective look at the harrowing ordeal of not just their marriage, but the dark secrets each of them had to carry. But usually, whenever they interact in the sunlight, I notice that there's some truths in the revelations that are shared. The color yellow, as I had said in one of my recaps, I believe in episode 4, means clarity. Therefore, there's some earnestness in these scenes that are in daylight, or what I like to call rays of hope and honesty between them. At the end of episode 2 and the beginning of episode 3, when Park Sun almost discovers the mole on her leg, episode 3 at the end, Park Sun revealing to the officers that Hong Ye-ju is his wife. Episode 4 actually has 2 of them, when Hong Ye-ju cries with sounds in the car, and at the end when Park Sun discovers that his wife can talk. The turnaround of Park Sun during the company retreat and displaying his love for Hong Ye-ju, the scene in front of the police station in episode 9 between the two of them when Hong Ye-ju knew certain truths regarding Park Sun. Both kidnappings of Hong Ye-ju took place in the daylight because certain things got revealed, like Park TJ's part in all of this, both Arbae and the kidnapper being for the first time, and the reasons why the kidnapper was so determined to make Arbae suffer in the first place. And lastly, the remaining half of episode 12 is all in daylight, which of course highlights that the secrets that they had to harbor are no longer in play and that they no longer have to live in the dark. Now, there were some things that I predicted that I was straight out wrong about. One was Nayuri and Hong Ye-ju were not related, as far as I know. Na is Hong Ye-ju's true last name before being changed to Hong. As far as the drama goes, there is no relation. Another thing, I was right about Park Sun being a replacement kid, but as far as the affair baby part, I didn't pinpoint whose kid he was. Now we know that he is actually Chairman Park's son. Also, speaking of that old goat, I had predicted that Chairman Park was the eliminator of those missing children, but he wasn't. And in the beginning, I wasn't quite sure who the kidnapper was. At first, I had thought that he was possibly Hong Ye-ju's little brother. I think because it messed me up because he called her sis, but I know that's a cultural thing. But of course, as soon as you get along further in the story, that I was like, okay, now it seemed like he was actually the original Park Sun. So I stand corrected on that. Speaking of Arbae, I also had predicted that he was either from the orphanage originally before the name change, or he was one of the missing twins, and I stand corrected on that one too. There are some things that I wish we had gotten some resolution on. Like, y'all, speaking of that whole mole thing, that was never resolved. Never. Like, during that certain scene in episode 12, I really wish that would have been addressed. But that might have been a tad bit racy considering the scene. Any more than the right scene in episode 8 when Park Sun picks it off from the corner of Hung Yi-ju's mouth. I believe in the behind the scenes, Yoo Yeon-suk ate it. So we didn't get to see that in the final production of that. I guess that was just too racy again. We never get to see what happened to the kidnapper post-accident in episode 1. And we never get a full explanation, at least to me, on how and when the Parks knew of the switching of the brides at the wedding. I mean, I get that we know when that occurred. That was when Chairman Hung had told them. But it seems like during the timeline of it, it seems a little wonky because we already knew that Park Sun had pulled the bait and switch because he wanted Hung Yi-ju to be his bride. And he had sent that DNA test as a deterrent for Hung Yi-na to back off. But we don't really get that timeline of when Chairman Hung had co-signed it or not. That part of it was really wonky and I think just did not transition very well in the series as a whole. Also, another thing that puzzled me was the paternity test. I don't know what all parameters are tested when it comes to DNA, but since we realized that Arbe's true father is Chairman Park, wouldn't it still show a DNA tie to Park Sr.? Like, wouldn't they be matching about 50% relation? I mean, unless Park Sr. isn't Chairman Park's real son. I mean, that would be a whole other issue. But I just found it odd. But perhaps Park Sun also might have made it up to get Hung Yi-na to back off in the first place. Who knows? Also, I wish we would have gotten a little bit more of a backstory regarding Hung Yi-ju and her mom before they were enfolded into the Hung family. The same thing with Arbe's origins, with his mother, how he got to be with his guardian, when did he find out that Chairman Park was his dad, etc. Also, I would have loved to see Park Sr. getting that same revelation of who Arbe was to him in relation to. And I think still, honestly, he might have been told in episode 10. That was the reason why he probably came out of his room looking a little mind blown and also throwing the glass at the picture. That would denote the reason why he broke down the way he did, if he was told just then. And this is another thing I wish that we would have gotten. I wish we would have gotten some fully fleshed out feelings between Ji-Sung-woo and Na-Yuri. I'm happy that they're getting married at the end, but even that seemed a bit rushed to me. If they were just confessing that they were dating then, I would have gotten behind that. But I wish we would have been able to spend a little bit more time with their relationship. But as it goes, it didn't really need the additional runtime past the 12 episodes. I think those were adequate. But still, I wonder at what would have made the drama a little bit more complete for me. And the thing about this is, like, apart from episode 12, I think they might have been able to stick a lot of that stuff in. Every time in the drama seemed precious and not really squandered or wasted. So they did spend their time how they were supposed to be. So there wouldn't have been like a necessarily episode 13 or 14 to really flesh out the story. I think that was just fluffed it out too much. So I'm really pleased with what we had gotten in the long run. Overall, great drama. And like I had said in one of my recaps, I'm not one to drop an entire letter grade for one episode and some change if the majority of the show did what it was supposed to do. And y'all, the ratings for this drama has not been kind. And I think it's because a lot of people started like spamming it with bad reviews regarding the conflict of the two countries that we hear about at the end of episode 12, especially. Maybe Park Sun's attitude also contribute to this series. That could also be a turnoff for a lot of people. And also what happened at the tail end outside of the conflict. Personally, it kept me engaged, eager to start the next episode, and I left guessing what each one would bring. Also, like for my birthday watch party, most of the people were eager to go home and resume what we didn't finish. That's a testimony to the addictiveness of this drama. As for myself, I don't regret my recaps or watching this series at all. If that was the case, that fellow essay would have stayed in Korea. But this is definitely going into my all-time grades, which is why I give it a 4.6 Park Sun scoffs out of 5. This drama was produced by MBC and is on Netflix mainly. It's on other platforms too, but I think Netflix has been sweeping the web to make sure any episodes are taken down. I will say that episodes 7 and 12 were the two episodes that were harder to find with English subs for pictures, but hey, I did what I could to finish my recaps. but this drama has 12 episodes, about 64 to 70 minutes apiece. But now I need to get on the next project in the When the Phone Rings after party here, which is the main differences between the web novel and the drama. So please, like and subscribe. Stay a while. Let me know if you have watched this drama or have any intention to. I would love to hear your impression of it. I've given you mine, but hey, it's just a thought.